Loud. All right. Welcome to Engineering Weekly. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. And if you're watching this recording later, really appreciate everyone kind of participating and joining in. We publish meeting minutes and agendas on GitHub, so please feel free to take a look there on the community repo. And we have someone new joining us today, Briggs, who's been a contributor to the project and has done some pretty great work in the last week. So welcome, Briggs.
Yeah, it's been a great experience. I haven't really contributed to many open source projects in the past, but this looked like a real good one to start with.
Awesome. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much for getting involved. And also, it's cool. I sent Briggs his first Ether ever yesterday. So it's also great that we're evangelizing the cryptocurrency community as we grow our team of developers. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. I think the cryptocurrencies are very, very interesting, and I think they're very beneficial as a whole anyway, just the whole concept of them. So I'm very happy to be a part of it now, and thank you for introducing me to it.
Yeah, very welcome. Hey, Patrick.
Hello.
How you doing today?
Okay. How you guys?
Good.
Good.
Thanks. Happy to be back in Colorado and not in New York any longer.
You got an edge? You know, that New York City vibe, man. You got to walk around with your radar on.
Right.
Bumping people, not looking them in the eye.
Yeah, just throwing bows, just going down the street. All right. So let's see here. I just want to, we start off every week kind of talking about some of the new contributors and some of the big commits that were made. First thing I want to, so the new contributors this week were at I am Anua. I'm not sure how to pronounce that handle, but he actually added Robert to our site, which is great. And then Briggs was the other new contributor this week. He was also on the call for the first time, which is cool. And he helped us clean up a lot of the testing and the actual protocol, the JavaScript testing in Market Protocol repo, and added linting to that. So that's really great. I'm really happy that that's there. We're trying to add some more features, and that'll just help continue to keep things standardized. And then a few other big commits that were happened this week is Arun 1595 completed our sitemaps to help us with SEO for the main page in the docs.marketprotocol.io site. And Crypto Mental, who is trying to join us, but I don't think he's going to be able to. He's been working on the protocol side to upgrade to the new version of Solidity and integrate the new Oraclize.it.API or Oraclize.it API. And so that's been integrated. There's a few issues that we're working through on that side, which has to do with the coverage with Solidity and running that Solidity coverage to get the coveralls working correctly. So and then as we're in, maybe Anderson, do you want to talk about the contributor guidelines and where that's at?
Actually, I think it's Ara could talk about that because he's mainly doing everything.
Yeah. So basically last week I kind of worked around setting up the basic contribution guidelines for the DApp. So we had this issue of like more than multiple contributors like kind of merging the base branch into their work branch. So that's the reason, like, and also there weren't really like proper guidelines as such on like what kind of code linting processes we follow or code standards we kind of use throughout the repo. So like I kind of had it live. So I've added contribution guidelines over there and for the DApp. So the idea is to like have contribution guidelines across all the repos sorry, in the individual repos basically. Earlier, we used to have it in a single place, but it definitely makes sense to kind of move them to their individual repos as we have very distributed language framework set up across all the repos. So basically the docs.marketprotocol.io is still need to be updated with the latest guidelines, etc. So it's still a work in progress, but yeah, like we kind of have the base set up at least. So like the goals for me and Anderson is to kind of revise the docs.marketprotocol.io and make things live as soon as possible.
Cool. That's great to hear and awesome. I saw the markdown file that you created for the D app, and I think it looks good. So that be a great template to kind of propagate to the other repos.
Yeah, definitely.
And so our idea is now to just add that information to README of each repo. So you have a link for the document because it is inside a folder, right? And also mention that in the main docs, right, Isara?
Yeah, I understand.
Cool. All right. And then there's something that was outstanding from last week, which was reorganize issues from the to-do column, which currently is a bucket for everything, to move things to the backlog and then kind of drag them over as we prioritize them.
And there, I'm sorry, I need to do a mea culpa here because I didn't get the person who do that or the people who do that. So I just put the item there, but there's not really anyone specific there.
Yeah, so I think it falls down to individual repo owners to kind of make sure that all the issues are placed appropriately where they belong in the project board. So that's the reason Phil might have not assigned any particular person over there.
Yeah,
so we can definitely.
Mainly because the level of priority of the issues, right? Not just the place on the columns, but which were the the issues with most priority. So we should leave just them in the to-do list and move the others to the backlog. That was the idea, right?
Yeah, the backlog was supposed to be just this big icebox of
Icebox, yeah.
Yeah. So definitely moving that over to, I mean, we could leave it over on the right-hand side, whatever works best for everybody. But yeah, just to get those in there, and then a matter of it's the organization, right? That's if we decide to do the priorities, especially in the to-do column, if that's how we're gonna, because when we talked about it, it was a matter of we had each individual owner of the repos that were basically managing that. And so as you roll this up, if you put all the issues on the main project, then there's the relative priorities, right, of our individual projects. But then there's the overall priority about how does one relate to the other, and that may or may not apply here. But there are a lot of dependencies, and that's the other thing that really came up in your discussion this week. Whereas we're adding more contributors, there are dependencies. We're thankfully in a spot where we don't have quote unquote real customers yet, and that's kind of a luxury spot to be in. But once we click forward and have people that are truly on the platform and they're doing real work, everything changes. So, just leading up to that is going to be important for us to get our system worked out. I know I'm expanding just more off of the project board, but that's my general commentary based upon some of the discussions that I saw this week.
Yeah, I think that's good feedback. I think maybe moving the backlog column over to the far left, so things go from backlog to to-do and then kind of progress across the board makes sense to me. And then, we have the labels, which essentially provide some priority, but then again, we can drag things in that to-do column to also signal priority. So, I think things have gotten more and more organized, and we'll just continue to revise that process. But I've definitely seen a lot of progress with the labels and contributors. Maybe Briggs can comment on this, but from a contributor standpoint, if he's able to find things that are available to be worked on and are are tasks that kind of are pending for people to find. So I also would love, Briggs, if you want to give feedback on that, we would love to hear it.
Yeah, how I found a lot of the projects was just by going to the individual repos of the sub-projects and looking through the issues. Other than that, it took me a while to find the, I guess, Kanban system you guys have set up with the cards. I just kind of stumbled across that poking around on GitHub, as I'm not super familiar with GitHub. But I did wind up finding it, and that was a good place to be. I did think it was strange, though, that the backlog was all the way to the right. But, but you know, that's how things go sometimes. So I just picked a few things from the to-do and got them done. Other than that, it seems all right. But I do like the idea of the Kanban system. And it's,
so maybe we need to make sure that we get people directed to that project board. I think that's a really good point, Briggs, to try to make sure that that's one of the first things people see, that when they're like, hey, I want to contribute, where do I go? So we have it in one place, but probably making it higher in the READMEs maybe would help. Do you think if we put a link in those READMEs, it would be good?
Yeah, I was thinking about that myself.
Okay.
I just drug the backlog over to the left. So I think that's stuck.
Awesome. Look at that. I don't even have,
right?
you don't have to create an issue for it. All right. Cool. I think that's great. We're going to move on unless there's any other comments there. I think we have some clarity on. Speak on there. Is there anything else people want to add? Okay. All right. Sorry, my internet just cut out a second. All right, so then I want to talk a little bit about some of the new partnerships that are coming up. I think during this call, Shark Relay just posted in our Discord. So Shark Relay is a 0x relayer. They also want to extend to be able to implement Market Protocol and host order books and basically provide a decentralized exchange for us. So we've been talking with them. In our Discord, I believe it's Snoopy is his handle, Suchit is his name. And so we've been talking with them, and definitely they're willing to help us with some of the feedback on Market.js and kind of how they're planning on integrating with us. So good place to look for feedback as you need it. Robert probably is more specific to you, but I'm pretty excited that they're going to come and want to build on top of us. So it's great. So now we have a few relayers or a few nodes that are going to be hosting our order books, and that continues to grow. I had a few really positive meetings also in New York with other partners that are looking to do a similar thing. So going to continue working on that kind of business development side of things, and obviously happy to announce them as that formalizes.
Cool. Yeah, I've got. I responded to Snoopy this morning, and it was interesting because he sent I think he sent an email as well. So it sounded like they were using 0x, but also there were some challenges as well. So I was kind of curious to figure out what that was, and sent him a link to the npm repo and the GitHub, and just told him that he has the ability to really help us shape that since we're at the very beginning. So hopefully we'll get some good feedback from him.
Absolutely. And then there's one other in Discord also. There's gosh, I'm forgetting his handle, but he's from Bamboo Relay, and so there's another relayer that's also in there that's very willing to assist with us, kind of the formation of that. So I'll make sure to connect you to him.
Okay, cool.
In there.
Yeah, the goal is to get just so everyone knows. I'm blocking as well on some of the API stuff, so I need to jump on that today to try to see if I can get him unblocked. But then to flip around really quickly, and we probably need to sync up Phil as well. It's just there's the macro level of the API, and then as you get down to it, you can get pretty granular if you take a look, especially of the 0x stuff. Get pretty granular on some of the calls. The question is, how granular do we really need to get? I think we do in some respects, but other respects is that how much of the abstraction do we really want to apply to make it, easy for partners to do, although some of them might need access to the lower level functions. So it's just that balance. I want to get some feedback on that to figure out how then, so we can start creating some of these issues and get them into the queue and putting some GitHub Ether against it, and get it going.
Yeah, that all sounds great to me. I've talked to several of them, and it really spans the board from we're using everything to we don't even use ZeroX.js. We're only writing directly to their smart contracts. So it's, we'll have to do our best to integrate from kind of many partners on that side of it. So yeah, we can go over that. We'll sync up, have a call later, or maybe we can even talk today in person.
Yeah, let's talk later today.
So, and then I'll introduce you in Discord, but his handle's ARC, A-R-C. He's with the Bamboo Relay. So another good contact there. And then kind of in that same vein, before we move on to just some of the positions we're looking to fill for hiring. So Bitfinex is decentralized exchange, and they are currently implementing on top of ZeroX. And we're kind of working through some things with them. But what's really exciting, maybe most notable right now, is that they're going to open source their entire user interface for their exchange. And I talked to the technical lead on the project in New York, and they're hoping to do that in the next month. So I'm going to try to get some more clarity on the time frame and make sure it syncs up, but it may save us a huge amount of work to be able to use their very nice UI. He showed it to me for our simulated exchange. So it would be awesome if we could do that.
Very cool.
Okay. All right, anything else on that before we move to some of the roles we're looking to fill? Okay, cool. So I posted this in Discord, but we're still looking for several positions to fill internally. The goal would be to fill them with people that are already contributing to the project and that are working in our community, so we can, assess long-term fit, make sure we have people that are excited about the project and kind of have bought into our vision of the future. So that the two postings that I recently added are a senior Solidity developer and a senior front-end developer. The job descriptions I can post again, but we're going to add a jobs page to the website. But if you know people that are interested or maybe a good fit, please definitely refer them and send them the job descriptions, and we can kind of go through that process of getting to know them better.
I'm assuming you sent me that link this morning for that one bounty. I'm assuming that was Laurel. That I didn't click on the handle, so I didn't see the information. But I hope that worked. I mean, if that's her.
I don't think that was her. Okay. The person that picked it up you're talking about. Yeah, so when I sent it to you, there was no one had started work on it yet. So I think someone had picked it up, but I don't remember the handle either, but I don't think it was her.
Okay, so she didn't take the bait.
Yeah, but I posted, there's a bunch of work to be done at front end work right now. So there's several places where we can create new bounties specifically for her if she's interested.
That's what I figured too, is it would be easy to craft something where it's like, okay, here's something for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Any questions about hiring until we move on to the proposed timeline schedule?
Just out of curiosity, are you posting those openings in some websites as well, or just sharing with your network?
Yeah, we're definitely posting them. We're working on trying to assign that to a team member outside of the development team to kind of organize the whole uh, posting and pipeline of communication to make it less burdensome on me and our dev staff directly. So they would probably be a first point of contact and help us to filter some of the applicants that are maybe more qualified or more suited for the role. So definitely going to post them to Angel and some of the other kind of typical places people are looking for work with startups. If you have places that you think we should post, definitely would love the input there. I think we talked about there's 3 or 4 that we know about, but if there's places that you think we should be definitely posting, please.
Okay, I have a few suggestions that I can send later.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that'd be great for sure. Okay, so then I posted a kind of just a brief overview of some of the timeline and how we might be able to break up some of the releases to get us to the proposed mainnet launch at the end of the year, or early next year, however, basically, Q1 of 2019. So it's pretty rough at this point, but it definitely, maybe not on this call, we may not be able to get through all of it, but you can certainly start kind of digesting that into milestones in GitHub to make sure that we're, roughly tracking towards those goals. Definitely there's some hiring that needs to happen to make this possible. I'm fully aware of that. And that's, something that we're definitely focused on as well to make sure that we can scale the team and then also leverage as many Gitcoin bounties and open source contributors as much as we can to help us meet those goals.
Cool.
Do you have any inputs on it? I mean, I'm sure everyone's kind of seen it. Does it seem reasonable, unreasonable, concerns, questions?
The May 15th, that was just the last release that we did for the DApp, right? We didn't miss that, in other words?
Yeah, right. I mean, essentially right now that we have a functional DApp that's deployed that people can use. So, we didn't really exactly define all the feature sets that we wanted to in that release, but it's there. So I just put on the timeline as, that we have that established and kind of, we have a rough idea of the feature sets that we want to have for the next few releases with the DApp.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, and then I'll get with you on, again, I've got the first level of priorities inside of the README to begin with, and then we'll figure out exactly how much we'd like to pack in there for the .1 release for the API. So we can get done.
And with all this stuff, definitely planning on going through the kind of the continuous integration process. So calling it a release at a certain date's a little, maybe we'll announce it at a certain date, but for absolutely with the DApp, I think it'll be a kind of a continuous integration flow of these features just getting integrated as we build them out. Seems to make a lot more sense than doing one big release on a lot of this stuff.
And a release has just such a bad word and a lot of connotations to it. Unfortunately, you're just releasing your code, and it's like, hey, here's a bundle of some new functionality, right? And it's a release, right? And so what you have in it, you have in it. If there are reasons to hold that because there's a specific event or something you need to do, or there's a partner that needs some specific functionality, you can adjust that, but it's the ongoing nature of just getting new functionality out into the hands of users to know that it's like, okay, hey, we've built up to this level of functionality and it works, right? And so you can at least, like, if you go up and you want to download a package as an example, it's like, okay, great, this at least is a release, right? You can always work on dev if you want to as the repo, but you're probably better off just working with the release.
Right, absolutely. I mean, there's I think the packages are a little bit different, right? For like the market protocol, like the slitted smart contracts, obviously we've created an NPM package, and the releases there are slower than, pushes to master in that case, because again, there's every time we do that, there's probably breaking changes to the DApp. So, integrating those kind of cross repo integrations will probably be more, what's the word I'm looking for? Periodic than continuous, right? But for the actual DApp itself, a lot of the features will be just kind of continually released as we go.
Yeah, and that's one of the areas I think we could really work on, in the way of, there's always going to be some dependencies, but how do we minimize the surface area between them? Can we truly get to a spot where we're iterating on the DApp and the protocol and the API layer independently, and we're just deploying and we're not messing things up? So that's the goal, obviously. How far we can get there just is really dependent upon a lot of factors.
Cool. Patrick, I would love an update, if you don't mind, on some of the SEO stuff, if you have some time and have the ability to kind of walk me through where that's at and how things are looking with that.
Huge plane is going over. Yeah, definitely. Do you want me to talk about now, or you give you an update offline?
No, I mean, great. That was great. I'm sure that was a plane and not your drone, right?
Right. Let me bring up the spreadsheet. So one issue is I think that some of the most recent changes haven't been propagated or released. So I was looking at collecting the very latest stats, and I'm not sure the newest sitemap or robots is deployed. That code was merged, and I thought we had some kind of automated deployment, but maybe the subsequent step to update the sitemap, which is in the make file, isn't in the automated deployment. But generally, the main search terms have improved quite a bit. They're in the top page or few pages of results. So we've seen roughly 50% improvements in terms that are directly related to market, that include the term market, or even some other terms like trustless Ethereum trading is improved from like the 10th to the 3rd search page. There was some discussion on the call Tuesday whether or not that's sufficient. So we talked a little bit about SEO and the improvements that have been made. And we also talked about what the expectation should be for some of these really generic crypto terms, whether at this point we really have a shot at improving to first page results. But generally, it's the measures we've taken are having an impact. They're quantified on the tracking spreadsheet. And the next question is, can we continue to get returns like that with some of the structural and content changes? Is it diminishing returns? Do we need to actually go outside for someone who's truly an expert at SEO? I guess those are the next steps and questions.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for that update. It's really helpful. There's 2 more pages that are being mocked up from our designer right now that I think will help somewhat in that. I mean, I think the main one is the about page, which I think will have more content to add to the site, which again should help. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe once kind of the structural pieces are in place and we've kind of stopped adding content, maybe at that point we can make the decision if we need kind of more expertise on it. But yeah, I'd also like to definitely track down if you think that the sitemap didn't get deployed correctly. We should talk about that to make sure, because it should have been integrated. I know CloudFront takes like about a day or something to propagate, but we can also go directly to the S3 bucket to see if it's there the way you expect, and then maybe that'll help. So let's sync up on that and see what we can get to.
Makes sense.
Do you find that when you invalidate the caches on CloudFront, it still takes about a day for that to propagate?
Validate the caches by meaning that we're uploading new content, or
So if there's some specific content that lives at a certain address, let's just say, you can invalidate the entire site, or you can invalidate just portions of the site because you have, we've got new content in your signal. So it should clear the caches, and then the next pull from the origin should then start to update those. So it should happen pretty quickly. At least in my experience at Gaia, we did a lot because we're always changing stuff, and it seemed to work reasonably well. So if we haven't tried that, that would be one of the things that I would take a look at, and it's very easy to do.
Okay. Yeah, we should take a look. I mean, I know, for instance, when Seth was in Asia and he was looking at some of the Asian served versions of the site, like it was very, very slow. Like definitely would take 24 hours to propagate from whatever we pushed here to making sure that it was worldwide the same content. So yeah, we can look into that.
Yeah, it might make sense just to do a complete cache invalidation, and just as a level set, and then as content changes in the different sections, then we just do a clearing in those specific sections, because there's a fee, and we shouldn't be too worried about that right now because it's so small. It should be minimal, but then just target different areas of the site to invalidate the cache and then move forward. So I could help with that.
Cool. Okay, so that's really all I have. If there's any other stuff that people would like to discuss, yeah, I would love to make some time for that.
A quick question about the discussion earlier regarding the backlog versus to do. Does the way that we're thinking about backlog, do we really want all new open tickets issues to really go to backlog first, and then we prioritize them into to do? Because
what is just an alternative? It sounds like you have one.
Yeah, well, I just we have, backlog was there to the thinking on backlog initially when it was created maybe wasn't in line with the real agile meaning of it, because the automation that's in place, anything new will go into to do, which is great if we don't have a lot of issues. Everything is to do, but maybe we're making some distinction. Maybe we don't need a distinction. I don't know, but just to be clear about the current automation that's in place, everything new will go into to do, and we need to manually move things from there to either in progress or backlog. And if we really want it to flow left to right, maybe I need to change that automation to pile everything into backlog initially.
Yeah, because for me that way, then I can I can pick the ones out and put them in the to do, and that way it's the consciously knowing that that's actually happening, right? And that was part of the more manual intervention to make sure that it was being accurately represented. So, and it's hard to rely on. Well, actually, I don't think people creating the issues can't apply the labels or I think move the priorities. So, for me, that would be my preference, but that's me.
And maybe we should clarify. So after a couple meetings prior to this one, we built this project management page, and there's a definition of backlog and to do there. Maybe people want to take a look at that and see if that matches what we're thinking. Maybe we do that offline.
Patrick, is there a I think we can we peg a note to the top of each of the columns just describing what these are? That makes sense?
Yeah, we could, I think.
And what happens as a result of interaction?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can pin it though, and the automation may post above that. I have to experiment.
Okay.
In GitHub, is it possible to set up the Kanban system for the tags? I might not word that right. So if you tag a issue, could you have that automatically placed in a certain, per se, category on the project board? That way you wouldn't have to have somebody go and manually drag stuff over.
I wish. GitHub's a little bit inflexible right now with some of this stuff. I mean, it'd be great because we have a tag that says in progress, right, or status, and then then you have to actually go and manually drag it over. So it's a little bit of the pain right now. We've talked about trying other solutions, but wanted to really make sure that we had adopted the use of the project board before we started layering on another solution on top of it. But we've talked about some other ideas with Waffle or some other boards, but just haven't made the switch yet.
Okay, interesting.
And I'll to experiment with some of this. I'll probably, on the API side of thing, Briggs, I'll probably add one of these. There's Waffle, ZenHub, HuBoard, and CodeTree. Those are kind of the 4 out there. And I'll probably add one of those to that board just to get a feel for how that'll work. And then, we can take a look at it and figure out where we go from there.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
One thing I always kind of comes to my mind is the fact that if the people who's working with bounty hunters, they are always going to the repos. I haven't seen yet how we can feed the board there, right? People is always going directly to the repos. So I think that could be a kind of issue or problem to be solved in the first place, because otherwise we change the board, etc. We create perfectly, but people just don't go there. They don't use there. As Briggs just said, he just stumbled upon the board. It's not something, it's not in the flow to people get there. So kinds of a question, right? Unfortunately, I don't have an answer yet, but how's the flow there? Why you have the boards if some people use or other no? Or how do we make sure people use the board? So
yeah, I mean, I think it's hard in general. Like, I feel like we've, for now, some of the issues that I've posting, we've moved that before you start work to the very top, right? And it talks about visiting our contribution guidelines and the docs.marketprotocol.io. Yeah. And I feel like most people don't even follow those. So one option would be to put the board as one of those notes in the issues, like, hey, see our board here, as one of the first things people see. But I don't know that it actually works.
Because on Gitcoin, you need to point to the repo, right?
Yeah. So with Gitcoin, basically, it's their issue explorer ties it directly to the issue. So the first thing people see is the issue.
Unless, of course, it's we say, okay, the board is mainly for the repo owners, so they can control everything from there. Would make sense, I think, right? But then you need to be at least aware that most people won't use the board. So the repo owners, they must put the board always in up to date, keep it up to date. Makes sense? For example, Robert, you as a repo owner, does it make sense?
Just because there's not a lot of issues and we don't have any flow yet through the market.js project. Yeah. I do, the communication piece of it, I know that we are communicating. I just want to experience that myself to say, okay, because I will be very engaging and like, hey, first go here, right? Do this, go here, click on this link. The link will have a filter on it to make sure they see all the API issues, right? So it's like, please always start here, then go to the repo. And if that just is not working, and maybe you guys are experiencing that just is not working, then yeah, we got to do something else. And that might mean, which is something we don't want to do. And I realize that is that if the project is at that specific repo, does that even make it easier, right? Do we have the same problem, but in a different way? Even though, great, they're in the repo, but if they're still not finding the project board, that's that's an issue. But if they get into the repo, and that's one of the things I don't know with some of these external tools is that when they get in the repo, is that one of the first things that we can set up so that they see? And I don't know if there's a feature in the APIs with GitHub that allows those project manager tools to do that. So it's kind of like the overlay on top of the repo. And then if you want to get to the code tab, you click on the code tab, but you can default to the project board versus the actual repo itself, seeing the code. I would hope we can do that, because then your problem solved, because as soon as they hit the repo, boom, project board. Click off onto a tab that says code, right? And that's where they go. So I don't know if the level of integration is that deep, but I'll figure that out.
That would make sense. I haven't seen that feature. I haven't ever seen that feature.
Okay.
I know that, for example, if you have some of those installed on your browser, then it will open the board first. If you go to the repo, the root of the repo, okay? No, not the root. I think if you go to the issues page, okay, /issues, would open directly the board if you have the plugin installed already. But
Yeah,
if you go directly to the issue, always open the issue itself.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because it was just very unclear with some of them. Some of them did have that browser plugin, and others did not depend on it. So, like I said, there's 3 or 4 that I'm going to install and take a look at to see, what might be the best of that world out there, and then say, hey, what do you guys think?
I think that might. I'm not sure if you guys agree, but it looks a little bit like a gap in the beginning of the process already, right? Because then we discuss about the backlog or the to-do list and where we automate those first tickets to go. But if people are not using the board, it doesn't make sense to get that discussion in the first place.
Yeah.
Unless you say, okay, the board are for the repo owners, right?
Yeah. So I think there's 2 things to think about. One of which is there's people that are coming from Gitcoin, and I don't think they're ever going to see a board first. Unfortunately, just the way the Gitcoin works, we can talk to them about that, but really, the first thing they're going to see is an issue. And then there's people like me, like Briggs, for example, who've come in, they've tackled an issue, and then maybe that's the point when we would try to integrate them into the board, where they're already looking for other stuff to work on besides like a very specific task. So, again, I think it's something we're going to keep iterating on and thinking about. Maybe we should set up another call to specifically talk about it more. I'm not sure that we should spend too much more time on this one, just because we're trying to keep it short and brief for everyone to get an overview of what's going on.
Agreed.
Okay. Is there anything else?
It'd be nice. Actually, that call probably will be very nice, because it's already the second meeting we are talking about this again, right? So it means we need some time to talk about.
So let's schedule it then. Let's just do it next week, maybe earlier in the week, and we can have it and we can have a longer discussion.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, great. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up before we all hop off?
I added some notes to the top of the columns for the project board. I don't know if the verbiage is actually correct, but check that out and see what you guys think. I tried to take most of it from the link that Patrick sent out.
Perfect.
And cool. It looks like you can move them around, so we'll just manually make sure that they're at the top of the queue.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining again. Really appreciate it. Briggs, thanks for joining us for your first time and all your contributions. I hope you stay involved and keep working with us, because we got a lot to do and we need people like you to help us for sure.
Well, thanks for having me. I really, really have enjoyed working on this.
Awesome. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.